Recruit Training Command is the quarterdeck of the United States Navy. Every enlisted sailor begins their naval career here, and our mission is fairly simple. It's to transform civilians into smartly disciplined, physically fit sailors ready for follow-on training and service to the fleet.
In the building! Move it! Good order.
And while doing so, to instill in them the highest values of honor, courage, and commitment. Our training environment is controlled chaos, and while it may not seem like that to the recruits, each and every event has meaning and purpose. When the CNO released his strategy for maintaining maritime superiority, he instructed us to instill in our young sailors the 4 attributes of integrity, initiative, accountability, and toughness. Toughness was something we really wanted to instill in our young sailors. The million-dollar question was, how were we going to do that?
We all knew that yes, we need tough sailors, right? We had incidences of missiles being fired at ships, collisions, and while we had a lot of very heroic sailors step up and do what they needed to do to get through that situation, unfortunately, we have a lot of incidences of our sailors not being able to cope. That stress level gets really high. You have fight, flight, or freeze, and we can't afford to have our sailors freeze.
The Navy's top admiral has ordered a one-day worldwide safety review after a destroyer collided with a civilian oil tanker.
So while I was on board the USS John S. McCain, we were in Singapore. We sustained a collision at sea. I was immediately thrown from my chair while standing the electrical plant. As a damage controlman, it's something that we train for all the time. Never been in that kind of situation, but I didn't hesitate. I wanted to go straight to what was happening so that way we could figure out what was going on and fix the situation. Some people were unable to actually operate. They just went into a corner and sat there, and then when we were, what are you doing? We need your help. They wouldn't move, wouldn't operate whatsoever. Some took a little bit of time to make their initial reactions. Eventually they were able to get into the fight, and then there were the select few that actually there was no hesitation. Immediately just started doing what they know or knew what they had to do.
The emotions are one of the most important things that run wild during an intense situation like that. Having the ability to fall back on training and things like that is almost second nature when you're in a combat zone. I understand that everything's chaotic, it's unpredictable, there's a million things going on. But the one thing that you need to be able to control and have a grasp of is your own emotions. Because if you can't keep those in check, you're going to become a liability for everyone around you.
With the way that the world is currently going and these heightened threats from greater world powers, we need tougher sailors. And it was very noticeable on the night of August 2017 during that collision at sea.
And so we figured, where do we start? Well, the best and most logical step is to start where our sailors first come in at the accession part, and that's Recruit Training Command. So that's the first place that we sought about instilling toughness, was with our recruits. And your recruits, then they start to commit to buying into the concept. This program at RTC first started when Admiral Bernanke at Naval Service Training Command locked a Navy SEAL, a chaplain, and a clinical psychologist into a room and said, hey, figure it out. Get after toughness. How do we create a program based on the body, mind, soul approach? And that's what we've done. We believe we've found toughness at the intersection of mental, physical, and spiritual strength.
Haven't been doing the mindfulness exercises to strengthen that part of your brain that allows you to do that.
Both mindfulness and performance psychology have a wealth of evidence supporting them. They were shown to increase self-regulation and also increase performance. Mindfulness in particular has been shown to strengthen the part of our brain that is in charge of rational thinking, slowing down our emotional process, careful planning, and problem solving.
What makes someone tough? What are some of those characteristics? I think toughness is the result of having a person of both character and competency. We must know the skill sets required to complete our jobs, regardless of designator or rating, and we must be people of character who are rooted in honor, courage, and commitment, and exhibit things like integrity, toughness, initiative, and accountability. And when we do that, toughness is the end result.
And it's easier said than done in many cases. But before you get into a potentially contentious engagement. We brought a SEAL into Warrior Toughness because we're the main action arm in terms of boots on the ground. We're the folks, our communities are the ones that have been facing combat for the last almost 20 years. And so, by bringing a SEAL in, it maintains that credibility to say, yes, these are the things that we've used. We've used performance psychology in our community. We have adopted a warrior mindset. So we can speak to that, so we can translate that. And so when people say, yeah, there's a SEAL who's gonna talk about what it means to be a warrior, people are like, yes, he should know what he's talking about.
Mental toughness is as important as physical toughness. It's important to chief, it's important to the petty officer, it's important to your entire chain of command.
We've rolled out our first products. And our first thing that came out was Recruit Toughness, which came out early in the fall of 2017.
Feel overwhelmed while you're on watch, while you're waiting for your turn to man the nozzle as you're about to combat a fire, you'll do these techniques so that you're more focused on the here and the now instead of thinking about what could happen.
We know that these skills work from research from many different areas, including other parts of the military, in athletics, particularly with elite athletes, top CEOs, and large corporations also use these skills. What we needed to know is, are these skills going to work here at Recruit Training Command? And so we did our own research. We did 3 different pilots where we had divisions who got the training and divisions who did not get the training. The divisions that didn't get the training were essentially told to be quiet for about 10 minutes because we wanted to be sure that we were measuring the effects of the program and not just 10 minutes removed from training as it is.
Maybe for some of you, plant the seeds for the first time.
In the classroom component, we are learning the attributes of initiative, integrity, toughness, and accountability through didactic, through conversation, through the use of C-stories, and through reflection. Good morning, welcome to Toughness Training. This is Lesson 1. I'm Chaplain Anderson.
I was introduced to the toughness program right when we moved to our ship 6. It was the first week, and we had our chaplain come in, sat us all down, and just kind of introduced himself, let us know his role.
And at first I was thinking, I was like, dang, like, why do we have to do this? Like, how am I really gonna have to apply this to anything that we're doing in boot camp?
My initial reaction is I was very confused. I didn't expect that to be part of the toughness program. I thought that toughness would be like physical toughness.
And then the chaplain started explaining it to us, and I was like, okay, this is getting a little interesting. I'm gonna be open-minded about it.
But the first time that we actually tried it, we sat down, and our chaplain had us hold our breath.
And then about a minute or so in, everybody stopped holding their breath because they couldn't do it anymore. And then he told us to do it again, but he said this time, don't let your mind wander. Focus on the different parts of your body that are hurting and just try to focus on a simple thing.
Once you're finished with it, you take that deep breath of fresh air and you feel your entire body get completely relieved of that pain, and you feel good about it. And he was just saying that you're gonna go through stuff that hurts and you're gonna push through it, but once you complete it, then you're gonna have that sense of relief.
Once we were done doing the breathing motions, the inhale, hold, exhale, I felt very good about it. I thought it was such a smart thing to do. I didn't expect it at all, and it helped so many people, which I also didn't expect.
The most successful recruits today will be the ones that prepared, not just their body, but their mind.
What Warrior Toughness does is it allows sailors to use mental reps and sets to be prepared to perform specific tasks that they may be competent at, but do them under extreme circumstances and stressful situations.
If you sit back before your actual event, the evolution, for example, the pool, and you picture everything that you're going to do, you try to gather all your senses, try to get that image as closely to what you're going to be practicing today, it's going to make it 10 times easier.
You're going through these mental reps and sets on a daily basis to ensure that you fully understand it. It's very low stress, and it just focuses on going over the same evolution over and over again. Just in time is before I walk in the room, so I'm starting to feel the stress level elevate a little bit. I do some just in time exercises so that I can confirm that I'm ready to go execute that task.
Whenever you feel like you need to recalibrate, you will do so. You don't have to ask permission. You could be standing on the tow line awaiting further instruction, and you can do your recalibrate exercise right there.
One of the things I rely on the most with the toughness program is the recalibration technique, and it's really a bridge between the physical manifestation of stress where your breathing gets elevated and you start getting excited about something, and the ability to focus. So it's not taking a time out, or it's not exiting the situation to gather your thoughts and come back in, but it's the ability to real time be able to bring back the focus and get through an adverse situation without any time lost.
Recalibrating is something I think everyone should do. It's really helped me, it's really helped my fellow shipmates.
It's not something that I'm always thinking about. It's something that's kind of in the back of my head.
It just allows me to slow my breathing and focus on the task at hand. So my mind's not wandering everywhere, and I'm not just like drawing a blank, or I'm not just super nervous or super anxious and making mistakes that shouldn't be made.
When you get to the fleet and I'm sending you to this recruit and he makes that slight pause, let him recalibrate. Let him find his center, let her find her center. Know that that's what we're teaching. We're teaching them to recalibrate, find themselves, look inside themselves and know that, okay, this is a stressful situation. They taught me this is an alpha fighter, but this is an actual alpha fighter. I know that right now my heart is racing, my hands are clenching, and I'm scared. I'm going to recalibrate, I understand the feelings that I'm going through, and then I'm going to go ahead and attack the situation.
Recruits are now asking, can we do an exercise the day prior to the PRT? And you see them breathing, you see everybody's bought in. While it may not seem beneficial at first to some people, it's another outlet. It's another way to deal with those issues. It's another way to deal with being mindful and understanding what that means.
Of this toughness and these exercises. This one that we're going to be doing is called PMR plus mental scan.
The best way that I can equate this program to a tangible resource is we're bottling and synthesizing experience. So from the recruit standpoint, or the junior sailor standpoint, or just somebody that's young in life, we're able to provide them techniques to be able to get through situations and persevere and come out on the other end with better after-action reflection and the ability to move on and learn through a process.
So I've been stationed at Recruit Training Command for almost 3 years now. After graduating Sea School, I've been able to be here for all the changes that Rear Admiral Bernanke put through, and seeing the different type of recruits that we had in the beginning to how we have now. To see that they're actually utilizing it, it's a whole nother recruit from what we had 2 or 3 years ago.
Right after that, we established our first recruit division commander quality of life survey. And what that revealed was that our RDCs were under a huge level of stress. They'd work almost 100 hours a week and go home and try to be effective parents and spouses in the home, and that created a lot of stress. And so we said, you know what? These RDCs, they need these tools as well, okay? Because maybe there's not, they're not being shot at, or they're not in a high stakes situation in a tactical sense, but they're facing a lot of stress and they need these tools as well. So we developed RTC Sea School curriculum a few months later.
The highest standards of honor, courage, and commitment.
As the name Toughness first came out, I was a little bit concerned that we're actually heading in that direction, because it's an immediate turnoff. Well, if I'm engaging in development and toughness, then I must not be tough enough. I thought anecdotally it was just going to be another Navy initiative that progressed through and people just talked about, but there was really no substance behind it.
3. 1, 2, 3.
First thing that went through my mind is, this is crazy, it's ridiculous, it's just another thing that the Navy's trying to do, maybe part of 2025. I was the adversary, I was completely against it, but you know what, now I'm a believer.
So, when those thoughts come in your head, I'm tired, think of it more as, I have a feeling that I may be tired. I have a thought of fatigue because you're stepping out and you're focusing.
As I became more involved in it, I saw the results in other people. Particularly in my life, the goal setting aspect and being able to stay on target through a sustained period of time, being able to take that hit and keep going and focus on the day in and day out grind, that was incredibly important to me.
Chief, the C School LCPO is Senior Chief Ryder.
Shortly after, I started using all the tools that we were giving through these classes in order to apply Warrior Toughness to my personal life and at work as well. I am now 26 weeks pregnant and I use Warrior Toughness all the time. I recalibrate and I'm able to take a hit and keep on going without hindrance of having to dwell on the situation.
When I'm tired, when I'm frustrated, and I've been trying to train these recruits for almost 18 hours, it really takes a lot out of me personally. There are going to be times where you kind of feel like you're at the end of your rope. You're past that point. You're physically and mentally exhausted. But what I always use as a training tool for me are, some of the basics of recalibration. I take that second and I stand back and I think about what I did versus how I'm going to train that recruit.
I would say that it's worked for a lot of RTCs and it's worked for a lot of recruits. It's worked for us, and being an RTC is a very stressful job. We work a lot of hours, but at the same time we have to ensure that we're healthy and that we're able to continue going, and that's where taking a hit and being able to keep on going kind of comes into play.
From when I pushed my first 5 divisions to when Warrior Toughness was introduced to myself, being able to be mindful, knowing when I'm getting upset, knowing that I have a decision to make and being able to make that right decision. Or now I just got out of a meeting and I'm completely upset about what's going on, and as chiefs, this is what we do. But how do I take that and not snap on my sailors? How do I filter that down? Being mindful and all these things that we're learning right now, it definitely helps with that.
Just being able to identify physically what you're going through when you're actually in that moment. Just to understand physically what the recruit or your wife or your son might be physically going through. Just to understand that and be able to take a step back and then re-engage. Just that little moment where, okay, this is not general quarters. This is a Charlie fire. Let me secure the power for 1 minute right now.
When you get out to the fleet, we need you to be able to do your jobs while under pressure. We need you to be able to do your jobs while you've got a ton of different distractors coming at you from 100 different directions.
One of the things I hear the most out of the skeptics is, well, it's good for the recruits. Well, the fact is, it's good for you too. If you're going to be training something to your people, you need to be bought in 100% because they're looking to you for guidance and direction, and if it's something that you believe in, they're going to believe in it too. And all you're doing is helping and driving that force home a little bit better.
After we conducted our first several classes of the RTC school curriculum, we immediately started creating pilots that we could have study and control groups to measure the data and statistics, because without that, then we really haven't proven that anything works.
So the research showed us that we were able to find statistically significant differences, meaning that this was not by chance and it had to do with our training, that the recruits that got the Warrior Toughness training were able to do better on their PFA, they were able to do better on inspections, they were able to do better on their firefighting assessment, and they also took less time to train, which meant that they get to the fleet faster.
We have taken assets and people organic to our command, and we have applied that to the whole person, mind, body, and soul. So what we have is a program that addresses what hits we will take mentally, physically, and spiritually. And then understanding and being aware of what our resources are of strength and resilience to get through that. Warrior Toughness is not a resiliency program, it is a toughness program. We are ahead of the curve, ahead of the incident. So we are being more proactive and building ourselves into tougher people, and the resilience piece is what happens after the hit.
Similarly, it does the Navy no good if these techniques are only helpful in boot camp. So we're also tracking the sailors who participated in these studies throughout their first enlistment.
Developing toughness and finding ways that you can manage your energy.
Performance psychology, sports psychology, character development, these have all been proven hundreds, thousands of years, but now we've taken it and put into a package that we have proven through statistics that we actually have developed something that works. And what we need now is obviously to figure out that formula for exportation into the fleet.
As this begins to evolve, again, we've piloted this really well in Recruit Training Command, and we've seen great success thus far. The next big step, that deliberate approach to Warrior Toughness and rolling this out and not getting ahead of ourselves, not creating cynics by getting it out there too far, too fast, and not really understanding what it is that the program is and what it entails. The next step is really to take it into that A school, C school pipeline of training so that sailors are continuously exposed to what they've first already gotten in RTC. And then once we get it out there, I think the next logical step would be to include it as a part of the Chief Petty Officer Development pipeline. And then eventually we'll get this to the point, hopefully in the farther future, where in all of our ships, stations, squadrons, and units, it's even taught and reinforced at the unit level.
In the year I've been here as the Command Master Chief at Recruit Training Command, I've seen Warrior Toughness not only affect recruits, but affect our sailors and our staff in positive ways. Morale and performance has improved. It works. We're building people of competence and character at all pay grades. As a Chief Petty Officer, Senior Chief, Master Chief, you kind of think you got it figured out. What I love about Warrior Toughness is it's opened my eyes to a new way of doing business and shown us a better way of building winning teams.
We spent the first part of World War II learning these lessons, how to deal with acute stress, how to manage, losing some of your crew as a ship encounters the enemy, and to push through that, to get to success, to bring that ship either to victory, sending the other ship to the bottom, or bringing that crew home, or both. So learning those lessons now, having our Pearl Harbor moment without having a Pearl Harbor, by getting ahead of this training and using the things we know about character and about stress and the psychology and how all these things play together to ensure that our sailors are prepared. We need this because this will keep sailors alive, this will keep crews together, this will keep ships and squadrons and units functioning, and it will lead us to victory.